Boom, recording. Jason, it is great to have you here on the Vinny Rock podcast. Sorry about the hasty setup. We're traveling at the moment, but I put out on social media, I wanted to give guys an opportunity to tell their story. I was given the opportunity to be put on a pedestal, and my life has changed dramatically. And I want to kind of give that opportunity to others. And so you reached out to me because I think someone sent you my post, and you were like, "Well, okay, let's do this." Looking deeper into it, man, there's a lot of levels to you, which I think is really exciting to see. And it's such a different art form of what you present. And so I think it's different and not different. It's something that's not given attention, is what I'd probably say better. And so, Jason, please say your last name.
Matias.
Matias. And so you served in the military?
Yeah, I was in the Air Force for 6 years, 2005, 2011.
I saw on your TED Talk you were stationed, where was that?
North Pole.
North Pole. How was that?
It was terrible. And I mean, it was formative.
Yeah.
Because I came from New York City. I grew up in suburbia plus Queens, which is, depending on where you're from, it's also suburbia. And then I got like thrust into North Pole, Alaska, where I was the only person who spoke fast, and I was the only person who like had urban viewpoints. And I mean, you know how it is. Most of the military is like the broadband of America and below and south.
Yeah. Very, very rural, very, backcountry. I mean, I was a drill sergeant, and I had my fair share of seeing all the kids. And man, I mean, I had several kids who have never seen other ethnicities, and you're like, that still exists in America.
I mean, obviously it still exists. Just look at the news. But I that was my first station. And how was it? It was terrible. Like if you were to drive to North Pole, Alaska, you would hit the Alaskan wilderness, or you would hit the Canadian wilderness, and then you would drive for days. And then you would hit North Pole, and then you'd be like, "Oh, I'm here." And then you would drive past North Pole, and then there'd be nothing, because it's a loop. So you go from like Washington up to North Pole through Canada, and then back down to Anchorage. So once you get into Canada, or once you leave Anchorage, there's like nothing above there. So super isolated. It's a very first world country of me, but like we didn't have a Walmart when I got there. It was like the movie theater was just being built. So yeah, a lot of things changed for me. Like I used to say that I shook off like the dust of New York City's concrete jungle, because when I got up there, I spent my first year in Alaska in my room playing video games.
Really?
Yeah, I just missed out on the whole wilderness for a year, 2 years. Because the second year I was like, oh, I want to go out and do cool stuff. And nobody would go with me.
Yeah.
Because I was an ammo troop, and all we did was drink and get in trouble.
Let me ask you, what was the motivation for joining the military?
On the deepest level, it's as I was always going to. Yeah. I am a sixth generation first son, and every first son in my family joins the military. Oh. And it's like, it was a story I was told once, and I just always knew that it was going to happen. Because there was never any pressure to, looking back, it was just something my dad was there, so I figured I want to. My grandfather was like I'm told he was like a general equivalent in the Philippine Army during World War II. Yeah. So the substrate was always there that I would make this thing happen.
Yeah.
And I just built it as a kid into my future plans.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a pilot, which never came close to fucking happening. But I'm assuming I get to curse on this, right?
Oh, bro, I don't know how not to curse in life.
Yeah, that never came close to happening, but I just always thought that was what I was going to do.
Yeah. My wife, she's an Air Force brat, right? And so it's when we met, it was really cool because she understood the levels of being in the military and the stuff, the stuff that I have no control over. She was like, yeah, I know, my dad got it, and she was born in the Philippines, dude. She's a Puerto Rican girl. and she was born in the Philippines. She has her Filipino birth certificate as well as her American one. But it's a really cool thing that I was like, man, that's so incredible. The military that does things like that. I mean, you going to the North Pole, never in your life in any other capacity would you ever have thought like, you know what, fuck it, let's go to the North Pole. You know, and so that's where you started your excursions, if you will, right? Your solo walks and hikes into the wilderness.
Yeah, yeah. Just because no one would go with me. No, I just got tired of wanting to do something and no one else would let me do it,
Yeah.
or no one else would go with me. So I just did it on my own. It
Well,
just became very independent, I suppose.
yeah, and that's the one thing that to me is it strikes really interesting because I listened to the TED Talks that you did, and we'll get to that later. But sometimes, just that there was something in you that's like, I'm done doing this routine. There's something more, you know what I mean? And if you didn't discover that more, if you didn't take that just leap of like, screw it, let's figure this fucking out, you wouldn't be where you're at today. It's like the start of what you've created came from you making that decision of like, I'm bored of doing the same thing. I got to try something different. And which looks like it's kind of, turned into essentially with the art you've been able to put out today.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of tracing the web back to the beginning or the edge, but I suppose yes. I mean, I try to think about when I gained. Sometimes you get those questions in interviews like, "What was your most hardest thing you ever did, or whatever?" And I always go back to that. I don't know if I mentioned it in the talk, but I got lost in the White Mountains by myself for 3 days, and that was really the hardest thing I ever did. And ever since that, I can always go back and be like, well, this isn't that hard.
Yeah.
You know? And I should have been scared then, but I'm going on tangents. This is just how my brain works. I'm just thinking.
No, it's perfectly.
But yeah, I think. I mean, obviously, everything had to start from somewhere, and it's the snowball effect. I mean, that idea going back to the beginning. When I was in 7th grade, my art teacher drew a big ass black line through one of my drawings because it wasn't dark enough. The shadows weren't dark enough. And that's when I gave up on art. I was like, fuck this. I'm going to listen to my mom. I'm just going to go get a job because this is all bullshit. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Right. So I left the whole art thing until I was in Alaska and
you had the freedom to
share my stories.
Yeah. You had the freedom to do whatever you want at that point. I have an art story of walking away from art as well. I was in high school drawing. I've always been an artist. I actually was part of a team out here in LA that would go paint murals under the freeways to get rid of some of the graffiti, and we paint like really beautiful nature stuff. And then 2 weeks later, it'd be tagged over again. But it was the efforts of it, and I loved art. I still to this day passionately love art. That's I think why your story kind of I was like, fuck yes, this is kind of a cool interview because I do love that side of the mind that is so external to like what we have here, right? It's like you have to think like that. I think it's a beautiful thing. And I had an art teacher. We were doing shading on bodies, and so I drew a picture of a bodybuilder, which I've always been intrigued with bodybuilding, and it just blows me away that someone could turn their body into this massive beast. And in part, I've always wanted to be a bodybuilder, but I don't have the commitment to be that big. So I drew this dude, and I'm shading him and everything, and I got to the hands, and I knew I'd fuck up the hands. So I said, fuck no hands on this guy. I'm just letting he's posing, and I'm just not doing the hands because everything else I gave so much effort to, and it was so beautiful to me. I was so proud of that when I turned it in, he gave me a fail because I didn't finish it. And I said, no, that is finished. I finished it. That's what I want. That's how as an artist, this is what I want to give you, And he's like, no, fail. I never took a college art class again because I was like, fuck that. No one's ever going to tell me what my art is finished or not. You know what I mean? And I was so pissed that I have never gone back to drawing or painting again since.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's pretty much the same experience I had.
Yeah. And which is beautiful that you found your outlet now or that you did. And let's get to the TED Talk to me, which is like, is super powerful that you were able to, one, those of you listening, I'll be putting the link of his TED Talk so you guys can check it out. I think it's important for you guys to watch this TED Talk probably before you even listen to this would be probably more powerful. But if not, then go back and watch and listen. But that photo of, is it the burning tree?
Tree of Fire? Yeah.
Oh, the Tree of Fire, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
That thing knocked my socks off. I kept like pausing the screen like, holy shit, man. Such a cool piece, how you got that picture, but then the heartbreaker later of how, you know, things don't, they disappear as fast as kind of they were beautifully there, right? And you caught those images when you did. And I mean, it's awesome because I like how the story started on that path, and boom, here you are now. Please talk to me about that. And, you know, let's just talk about that shot alone, you know, how that came to be.
Did you see the photo on my site, like off of the off of the web talk, off of the
No.
TED Talk? Yeah, I'll send you the link so you can see it in like full detail.
Okay.
That photo. So I had,
Mike, if you don't mind, send that to me right now via text, and there it is. Oh,
just I put it in the chat, a link to the thing. Oh, we're like way earlier than my regular wake up time. So my regular alarm just went off. I'm a night owl, so
no worries.
I just leave an 8 o'clock alarm so I can say I tried. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I just put that in the chat box. But Tree of Fire is actually shot after sunset. And I had rented this medium format camera because it's always been a goal of mine. It's on my vision board to go medium format, but it's like a $20,000 investment to get the whole package of this bigger camera system. So I guess just one of my business tactics is don't spend that money, just go rent it when you need it. So I rented the camera for a week when I knew that the light in the trees were just exploding with color. And did that link work?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, cool.
It's insane. The different colors in this picture, the contrast, it looks like a CGI painting or something.
Yeah. Yeah, but these cameras are so powerful. So I had gone and I photographed it after the light, any direct light in the sky was gone. So it was all just sky glow with a long exposure and, oh, Jesus. And how do I even turn these off?
It would be a longer process, and don't even worry about it.
Okay. And just that sky glow. So with that extra exposure, like with the ice cave, I was able to get a whole lot more color.
Yeah, that ice cave is insane too, right? So like I saw colors in that I'm like, how the hell did you find that? And exactly. So these, I don't know. I can't wait for other people to see what I'm talking about, because I think they're just like, what's he saying? You know what I mean? Because in the shot of the ice castle, that was the other one that I was like, that's insane. And I've seen photography, you know what I mean? I enjoy photography, but some of the shots you've taken were, to me, are some of the craziest I've seen.
Thanks. The ice cave was actually a Tinder date. It just happened to line up that way because, like I said in the TED Talk, it was super warm and I was afraid to go out there.
Yeah.
And, it just happened to be cold enough, and then I was like, I'm going this way anyway. Do you want to come? And it was kind of like the extra motivation to go out there. But it's a really easy place to get to. But the combination of events to make that picture happen is really hard to get. Because in the winter up here in Seattle, we don't get sunsets.
Yeah.
You don't get cloudy sunsets. You either get a blue sky every once in a while, or you just get clouds. And there was some light. There was just some light in the sky. So I stayed in there and took that longer exposure because everything lined up. It would have been silly. I actually left the ice cave. We were in there, we checked it out, and then I was leaving and I saw this light. So we went back and I just stood in there for another like 40 minutes to an hour, just capturing these exposures, waiting for the light to line up. And I have a painterly approach to the way I edit and the way I complete things. So I'm always looking for different kinds of contrasts. in this case, I knew there was pinks and I knew the eyes could be blue. So everything just lined up and I was able to just to make that image.
Pull those
And all
colors
the
out.
concentric circles, they just keep your eye right there.
Yeah, yeah. It's there's something about that image and how it's done. You know, they say, you know, in the film world, there's this perfect, forget what it's called, but that's exactly what that photo is to me, right? It's like so drawn into that right down the center, and like my eyes are stuck to it. And a lot of your photos have this, right? I imagine that girl on that date was like, all right, well, I'm probably not going on date 2 with this guy.
I'm bored because I was just sitting there just taking the same picture over and over and over.
Right. And so she doesn't understand, like there's sometimes people don't understand the I guess the mind of the creative. And she's probably like, this dude's a square. I've been like, this is dope, dude. Catch that shot, you know?
I don't know if she thought I was square, but no, I never went on another date with her.
Yeah, no, imagine she's like, he's more focused on this photo than me. And I mean, as what I would be the same. But dude, there are some photos in here. Actually, I want to invite you to Salt Lake City, Utah, and let me take you to a couple places that I think you can grab some shots that are insane, because we have a couple things in Utah that obviously we have the mountains, we have these waterfalls, we have these locations that most people you know, love to go to, but we also have these craters. It's a natural crater, like no joke, like a hole in the ground. It's scary. So I'm looking at right now one of your photos. It's in, it's called World's End. It's North Shore, Oahu, Hawaii. This is this terrifying image to me, right? This is what scary movies are made of. If you don't know this location, because I don't personally, it looks like a hole in the earth and you're going to fall in. And so this reminded me of like some of the little caverns and craters we have. Tell me about this photo, man.
That photo was terrifying.
Looks like
so that place is, so that's Sharks Cove, right? And in the summer, in that, you can dive into that hole, and I have. You can dive into that hole. It takes about 1.5 minutes to go down, go through the blue hole, which is this big cavern underneath the lava, and swim out the other side.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, so you can, people scuba dive it or you can free dive it. And I've done both. And the water is super calm, right? But in the winter, when the waves come, it is a completely different experience. The waves are 15, 20 feet at times. No, not really that high, but they crash against that wall and they have this huge 15, like 20-foot blasts of water, right?
Yeah.
On that wall in Sharks Cove, and people are always getting washed off and hurt really bad by the lava rock. And then over here in this space where that lava tube goes down, it is surreal. So you're standing there looking at the water, sort of gauging it, and you're looking straight out at the edge of that lava platform. And when you're out there, the ocean, I'm trying to do this for the ocean is like this, but then when the tide goes out or when the wave goes out, the ocean drops. Yeah. And it looks like a street going down under a tunnel. And then it just rises up in this slow, like unstoppable force. It comes up and then it wells over and it shoots forward. And I got there at the beginning of winter to take that photo. So it was just as the waves were getting bigger and bigger. So there were like 5-foot swells would come over the edge, shoot across the water. And then I would move out with the receding water, put my camera down and take a picture as everything drained in and drained out. And then I would have to retreat again.
That's freaking. I've spent a lot of time on the beach, and there's areas here that's like it's just like that, but not as awesome looking, right? Where if you're on the rock at the wrong time, you're gonna get swept out of there. The waves are gonna hit you, and if you're on the right time, it's just an awesome place to just hang out, catch the sunset, and enjoy it. And in my head, I'm thinking of this as you're talking. I'm like, have you ever filmed any of this?
That's actually on YouTube.
So.
I think I have like a little like video where I was like, this is what's happening out here. And it's not as terrifying in video as it was in person.
Oh, for sure. I think you can create this incredible documentary. We got to do like an episode. You got to allow me, if you come to Salt Lake, I'm going to film what you do. We'll do it together. We'll hike, adventure, find a spot, take this picture. I don't care how many hours it takes. We'll get this shot. In the end, people will get that satisfaction of watching the final shot of what we did.
Yeah.
And I want to do that. All right. You're going to let me do that with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I want to
You're gonna
start.
let me do that with you. That's my question.
Oh, bro. So I believe in this whole veteran movement that I'm doing, and I want to highlight and is these veterans doing just cool stuff, right? And I want to be taken on the adventure with them. You know, I want to show. For me, this is almost therapy. I mean, I imagine for you, this has had to be some kind of. It's a release. It's something that's so valuable to me. I find right now that it's therapeutic in thinking of it. Just like God, us hiking for 7 hours for the perfect shot, and then for someone to see the final result. To me, that's like the climax of like, yes, that's so badass, man. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
It's weird. I have this mental issue, I suppose, that I'm just kind of recognizing now, through like growing up and journaling and stuff. But I have a very delayed response to gratification.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know when that started. So like that feeling sometimes comes at random times,
Yeah.
and then sometimes it doesn't come at all. But I'm
Right.
very process oriented. So it's like I know I want to accomplish this thing. And part of what got me into photography was just the process of trying to win. It's like I want to be better
Yeah.
than the people around me. Like I would go and shoot in Hawaii and I'd stand in line and I'd stand at the beach and there'd be like 50 photographers. So my goal in getting the reason I got better at photography was like I don't want to have the same picture as all of them. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was just keep pushing. And that's the part that really kind of satisfies me a lot. Um, and it used to be that hiking and being out, and like I did this 8-day hike in Alaska, and it was like across these glaciers and over these mountains and all this stuff. And I realized out there, like I thought I would go out there and be able to like escape myself. And this is like one of the first times I realized that when you go and you travel, you still take your brain with you.
Yeah.
So like the only time I really feel like I'm escaping is when there's nothing else that you have to completely focus. That's why I like free diving in Hawaii a lot. I feel like I'm way off of your question, but
No, no,
I
no.
don't know when that feeling comes, that satisfaction comes. And I'm sure there's got to be other people who feel this way, but it
Bro,
does. And it comes in waves,
you're talking to
I
a
know when I'm done with a photo when I get excited about it. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, that's what I think, right? If in the video concept in my head is when you're done editing it and you're proud of that, like when you're like, this is the one, that to me is the finish. I guess to me, that is the climax of like, there you go. Now you can see it. Now you can see the way I visioned it. Here you go. It's like you're handing it off to us to say, this is what I suffered for. This is what I struggled for. This is what I waited for all these minutes, all these hours to have this perfect image. It takes time. Some people don't understand that, right? Some people can't even put that into, for them, most people who don't appreciate art are probably just like, oh, well, that's a cool shot. Like, no, that shot's done when I say it's done. When I give it to you, this is my final product where I'm proud of. I think to me, look at, you're talking to a guy that has 20 different businesses that goes nonstop all damn day. And I know you probably don't know too much about me, but I'm the guy that's still chasing that. When am I done? Like my wife is like, man, you don't stop. And I don't know if that's a psychological thing. I don't know if that's a healing process. I don't know if I'm just running away from my traumas in my past. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still trying to figure that out as I go. As my life has continued to evolve, I'm on a TV show, I have a podcast, I have a book, I do speaking all over. It doesn't matter. I'm not satisfied for some reason. And I'm not chasing fame. It has nothing to do with that. It has something to do with chasing complacency. I'm chasing, and complacency in my world kills. So I'm scared to be like, all right, I'm done. Right. And so it's this really interesting thing. And on the artistic brain of creating film and television, there's so much stories that are in me from my past that I want to tell in a different light. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, I see some of that in your art, in your paintings, and in some of these pictures. They're just, excuse me, in your pictures, I think they're just insane.
Do you think you're chasing value?
I don't know, right? Like that's a great, I
I
don't
think
know.
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I have this issue, or I've always had this issue since leaving the military, that I'm not doing anything important anymore.
Right.
Like
Well,
not even remotely.
that's a lot of us, right? That's a lot of our transition struggle.
Yeah.
I love that. I didn't even think, I mean, I love the way you said that. Some of you guys out there listening later on, you better take notes, because chasing value, right? I there's a sense of fulfillment in serving others,
Mhm.
right? And I mean, that's where these podcasts even came from in the first place. Like, let me help others, trying to let me tell their story, because there's something about serving others that has filled me with joy, and Mike Simmons is seeking to leave a legacy of value, right? Like, I don't
Mhm.
know, my kids are so important to me, but like, what are their thoughts of me when I'm gone? You know what I mean? Is it going to be proud of like everything I've done, or was dad so focused on this mission that he didn't give the kids, his time? I don't know. And part of it, I believe, is the fact of the struggle of transitioning and trying to find, I guess, normalcy again. You know?
Yeah. I just had a similar discussion. I got brought onto a project called Contribute To. It's like a project to support artists
Yeah.
um, by this other entrepreneur. And I looked at her resume and she's like, I built medical stuff that saved people and blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, wow, she's telling me that I've done like really great, amazing things. And I'm just like, no, you save people's lives. I've just been taking photographs and writing my book, and I teach an art class, and that's it, a business class. But yeah, I think, and I was telling her, it's like I'm looking or searching how do I actually contribute,
Yeah.
and I guess I still really haven't figured that out.
Well, to me, your contribution is continuing to be the best version of you for guys like me to be inspired by. Like, I'm inspired by this, and I didn't know who you were until you reached out to me, right? We had no connection. We were veterans, but it's such a broad statement. It's all over the place. There's veterans all over the place. I think it's unfair that veterans like you aren't on a pedestal and told like, hey, you guys love art, go follow this guy. He can look what he's done with it, because I think there's a lot of value in what you've already accomplished. Like, looking at your the ice cave, that to me is like, okay, I need that on my wall, because that is my moment of like peace. It's beautiful, right? And there's something about you that your art is valuable. Like, I'm the same when it comes to people like, man, you do so much for veterans. I'm like, do I? Like, do I really? I don't know. I just kind of live to be me, right? And as much as I want to help veterans, I don't have the money to do what I would love to do. You know what I mean? I would love to build this rec center where veterans can hang out, a lounge. In my head, like, I'm not done until I get to that point. But then this comes along and I'm like, dude, you inspire me right now with your art, and your photos is just, it seriously is freaking awesome.
Thanks. I
I'm
think
excited. Go ahead.
I think what I really love about the ice skate experience is that the balance between the danger and the beauty.
Yeah.
Um, I think that might be what I did. Like that place was freaking dangerous.
Well, it looks like, the feeling I get looking at it right now as we're talking. Uh, if I was sitting in that room, you would feel so insignificant as a human being in a world that is so massive around us, right?
I
Like,
think that all the time.
yeah, I'm sitting here watching this cave, looking through it, seeing the mountain in the background, seeing the trees, and those trees look like they're so small, but to know how big they are, in reality. And you're in this cave of just like vulnerability, right? Like, the cave it makes me feel safe right now. Imagine a caveman. This is what I imagine, like these movies of a caveman just like coming out and like, holy shit, this world is so vast. And that's this photo. I'm gonna go look at your site on this photo. I want to put this somewhere in my house or my office, because I think this photo to me is super powerful, and it feels good looking at it, right? It makes me feel good inside. And shit.
I
Well,
have,
dude, tell me about this book.
oh man, this okay. So we'd have to switch gears kind of completely.
Let's do
Uh,
it.
so I finished my master's degree in 2014, right? And my art career or whatever was just sort of starting 2012 when I realized I couldn't get a job. And I was convinced I should go get a master's degree because then I'd be more employable. I have an MSOL, so organizational leadership. But I went to this school and I was using the VA, the GI Bill. And after my master's, I did the whole travel thing.
Yeah.
What I actually did is I convinced my my school dean that um, I could finish my master's degree online, like virtual,
Yeah.
because Argosy University has a campus in Hawaii, but is ostensibly like a tele school or online school. So I traveled on the GI Bill, started traveling, and then I finished my degree and I kept going. And at the end of 2014, um, I was I was in a state of mind that I was coming home. I was in Stockholm, and I had done this traveling thing because I was trying to generate business while
Yeah.
I was out there. So I went to Italy and I spoke to people. I went to Dubai and I had this big, like, huge opportunity art sale, and where I got my first major lesson in business, where it's not over until they pay you.
Yeah.
So I got this big sale in Dubai, and they were going to pay me at the end of the month. So I was like, oh, this is a great big bunch of money. I'm going to keep traveling. And I went to Italy, and I went to Morocco, and I went to Spain, and then I didn't get paid, and I went way over my budget, and I had a super stressful like month. And I had to go to Aviano Air Force Base because I had a friend there because I went broke.
My mother-in-law's there right now.
Oh, that place is not what I thought it was going to be. Like everyone's like, let's go to Aviano, get a station at Aviano, and I went there. And it's ugly and boring. You are in Italy. Anyway, so I was on my way home from that, basically failure.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in an airport with this like wry sense of humor and mad at the world, and maybe a little bit whatever. And I was like looking at my surroundings, and in front of me was this old guy who, like, all white hair with a big beard, super refined looking, like most interesting man in the world. And then the waitress was this angry purple-haired woman. And then people were like, in Stockholm in the airport, you'd get on a scooter, or old people have scooters, like the type kids go in the driveway with
Yeah.
a basket in front that they put their luggage in, and they're like scooting around the airport like it's the Jetsons or something. And I just started writing it down, and then I created, I guess, this sort of stream of consciousness in-person observation story, without like editing my thoughts, and I posted that on Facebook. And that was really, like, people for some reason online, they don't like my photography. Like, I don't, my social media sucks in terms of my photography work or what have you, but people really responded to this writing, and they liked it. And it turned into this 6-year project of me being honest and writing my thoughts down as I was experiencing things, as I lived life and traveled and whatnot. And that book became Naked Thoughts, which is this. I don't know if this is video, but this is what the book.
It is video, definitely. Let me see that. Let me see. I'm probably gonna edit this down because I think it's a really cool podcast. Nice.
I guess I could go like this.
You're
so that's
fine.
my face with a bunch of different like emotional expressions, and I just put it all together in this collage thing.
Where can someone get that?
Amazon.
I can order on Amazon.
Yeah,
I'm gonna order that today.
Yeah. So the book is these sort of short stories.
Yeah.
And like in one of them, I talk about one night stands, and then in another one, I talk about doing drugs on my birthday, and then walking in the street, or it's just these random events over the years where I just got into that same frame of mind. And
how's the response been for it?
Really good, actually. I mean, marketing is a pain in the ass, but I think it's got like 30 something 5-star reviews.
Beautiful. Marketing and
Mike just put the link in there.
Yep, I got it. I'm actually looking at it right now, and I'm ordering it right now. But that is the thing, is marketing in books is a pain in the butt. I've done it. I have several books, and the thing is with books and what I've done, I write them, post them, forget about them. It's, to me, in the art space of like my writing, I'm like, would it be nice for this thing to make a lot of money? Yeah, of course. It's always nice to make a lot of money. Would it be nice to be respected as a writer? Yeah, that would feel really good. Like the affirmation would feel good. But at the same time, I didn't write it for it. So, I just let it out into the world and let it exist. It's like a photo. You take that, you create the best version of that you're happy with, and let it out into the world and see how people receive it. I think that's the world of an artist is if there's high expectations, there's a lot of heartbreak.
Well, yes and no. I have to I have to contend against that because um, I teach a course called the Art of Selling Art, which is a business course for artists. And
Yeah.
I'm not like promoting that right now. What I'm saying is that I can't let that go. I can't go and create it and then see what kind of world, because it is a business.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, it is.
So I have to turn that creative part off and then be like, okay, how do I make this new piece exist in a way that it can support me? You know,
No,
like,
I respect that, right? Because that's probably what I'm doing wrong. And no, in my head, I'm just like, it would be nice to make money, but and I should turn the creative side off and say, no, I deserve to make money. You know what I mean? I deserve to make money off my art. It's hard for me.
yeah. What I tell everybody is after you've made it, it's not art anymore. At least not in the business sense. It's and now it's a product,
Yeah,
and then you gotta do what you do with products.
that's
And
hard
so
for me. That's super hard. That's so hard for me because I tell people they ask about my music, right? I write these songs. I have a producer that helps me. I'm heading out today to go do another song, and they're I don't even know what genre you call it because I just kind of let it exist and what it is. And people are like, you should really focus on music. And for me, it's like, well, when it becomes work, I had the passion kind of turns into create for money and not for the passion of it. And that's what I'm scared of, I guess. I'm scared of that realm of creating in it now turning into like, oh, you have to create another song, and like, oh, here we go, and losing its authenticity of what I'm trying to do with it. What would you
mhm.
teach someone? What would you tell someone that struggles with that?
Only do what you love,
Yeah,
right? You can I think you have to love business too.
yeah,
And then you're still doing what you love while you're being capitalistic, I suppose.
right,
I won't even take a picture anymore if I'm not into the actual idea of it.
right.
Uh, so like I've narrowed down what I want to create so that uh, so that the whole process becomes just like a loving, nurturing thing.
Yeah,
You know, and I don't know if I'm using the right words, but part of, let's say, the ice cave, for instance, part of that's life cycle as part of what it is, it's going out and finding people like you who love it. And it's
mm,
not going to do that on its own. So you have
yeah.
to do it. You have to give it the push. And it's just, I'm raising an art piece in its own way.
That's
Um,
beautiful.
so beautiful. Uh,
You're gonna hate them when they're 18, bro. Trust me.
yeah, it is a struggle though. But I think I've heard people say this before, and I've never really thought about it that much. But I don't think it stifles my creativity.
Yeah.
But if anything, it focuses to keep me from getting distracted by creating all the time.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Well, the other thing I wanted to make sure we circle back to the TED talk that was emotionally like, damn, is when you take these beautiful photos of the ice cave or the dance,
Yeah.
right? Or and then you come back to that spot and it's no longer there. Please take me through that, the feeling of you capturing this beautiful image and then going back to it later and it's no longer there. I mean, how does that feel for you in the thought process behind that? And part of that TED talk was that.
I think it's kind of just you recognize that things don't last forever,
Yeah.
and some things are beautiful because you know they won't be around.
I was going to say that, right? There's kind of a beauty in that, in the fact that, oh, that moment right there was its prime. And, this is kind of life in its own, right? Like, if it's not a metaphor for life, that's what it would be.
Yeah. Um, what's funny about the TED talk is it was actually, and I skipped a whole minute of it during the talk. I just spaced on it. But what
Yeah.
I was going to say in that part is that I don't I don't typically go back to places that I photographed
Yeah.
because I don't have that just I don't have that, like you said, commitment earlier, or that drive to go back. but I always think about going back. I always want to go back. It's in my head as like this thing I might do because it was so pretty and that experience was like wonderful. But I kind of also know that going back won't be the same.
Yeah.
You know, like that one photo with the sunrise just hitting that tree, that monolith.
Yeah. What do you call that one? What's that? The name of that you called it?
First light.
Yes. Yes.
In the TED talk, I say it wrong. That's another mistake I made. I call the first two pictures dance.
The dance. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I noticed that.
Yeah. I can't fix it, but that's just how it happened.
Bro, speaking in public is, I always have a plan. It's like they say in the military, all plans fail upon first contact in the enemy. They say action. I go, oh crap.
Mm-hmm. That was my first time too.
Oh, dude, you did great. I loved it.
Thanks. But yeah, so like I know I'm never gonna go back and have that. Even before it fell and is gone, I know I'm never gonna go have that experience. It's not gonna be the same when I go back. But I do feel like it's almost like chagrin or you know that feeling when you just like figures. You know, something happens and you're like, oh, that fucking figures.
Yeah.
You know, like just another punch in the gut, like all of 2020, I guess. It's like, oh, well, shit, that's gone. You know, what the hell?
It's like that. It's like that adrenaline dump that you chase and continue to chase, and you seem to never get there again, right? To me, it's like, I imagine it's like, I don't know. You show up the second time, you're like, yeah, it was never going to be as good as that first time. And I didn't appreciate as much that first time as I should have, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like it sucks. It does suck. Like that forest was beautiful and I do wish other people could see it. I know that camping on that beach on Rialto is not going to be the same for anyone as it was for everyone before.
Right.
That tree was just an incredible feat of nature. Like, you know, one of the 7 wonders of the world or something. There's a tree growing out of a 10-foot wide monolith that's 100 feet in the air. Just one tree just growing there. How did it happen?
Yeah, it's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I want to talk to you offline later about, I would love to film that piece with you. If it's just a 1 episode kind of documentary concept of what you do and the beauty of your art, and take me along with you so I can experience it, because I genuinely appreciate what you do. I do. And most people don't probably understand the artistic side of me. I've grown up loving artists and what they do in any form that is, and what you do, and you being a veteran and us connected in the space of just how it happened. Yeah, I would love to go further into that and be there with you when you catch one of these iconic images, and just know that that was a part of my life that I was able to catch too.
Yeah, I'm 100% down. Just give me an excuse to get in my car and go somewhere. That's all I need.
Well, you're not far from me, man. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, so it'll be perfect.
10-hour drive.
Yeah, it's like 4 hours or something like that. I don't know.
From Seattle?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, then hell yeah.
Yeah, it's only like 4 or 5 hours, something like that. Yeah. Maybe more. Whatever. It's a fun drive.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, we're gonna wrap this up, man. Please, if you want to promote anything, any page, any social media, whatever you can, and then we talked about, we'll probably add a link that people can go find from this podcast, so they can go see whatever. So however you want to do that, I want to give you that opportunity. I already bought your book as we were talking. I purchased it. I'm excited to read it. I'm an avid reader.
It's very different. I'll warn you.
Well, I wrote my book. My book is called Light the Fuse, right? And it is written in how I speak. I didn't want it to be this literature. I'm like, no, you're going to read it as if we're having a conversation. So if I throw a fuck in there, it's there, you know, everything. And so, so Mike just said it's a 12-hour drive. Whatever. That's what, one book, audio book. We're good. I got a spare.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a few places and a few things that I could promote or whatever, but I just really enjoy these conversations. Obviously, I have the book Naked Thoughts. That's on Amazon. And then all of the work that we've been talking about is on jasonmatias.com.
Yeah.
And I'll make a page for you and for all of your listeners. It'd be jasonmatias.com/Vincent Vargas. And people can go and stop in there and, see the conversation and whatnot. And I guess anyone who comes from you, will give them like a 10% discount on my work. But I mean, for veterans is the only discount I actually give out mostly is 15%. So that's the deepest I go. And that's for veterans and any of my work, like the pieces behind me. And then there's all the social medias, real Jason Matias on Instagram. And
Yeah.
I don't even use Twitter. So it's just Instagram and Facebook for me.
I'm gonna probably post a picture. My social media is on a weird schedule, and I manage it, and I also have other people managing. But I want to throw that photo in there. Would you mind sending me, a decent resolution, not a full resolution, because I want to pay for that, and I want to be able to, get something. But I would love something that I can post on my social media so I can kind of direct them to you even before this podcast goes out. I really, that photo is super powerful for me, and I want to show you the gratitude of having you on the podcast and reaching out and us now connected. I would definitely love to send people your way.
Yeah, I'll text it to you.
Cool.
I appreciate that a lot.
No worries, man. Dude, thank you so much. I didn't know where this conversation would go, but I did enjoy the fact that it just went, you know what I mean? And I enjoy that we have plans now and we have to figure out those and let's make those happen.
Uh-huh.
And I think this is going to be a really cool thing. So I just got a camera. I'm just learning how to do my own docu-style videos. I have an editor who's going to be editing them. And I would love to, one of those first adventures, be with you out there in a place I don't hike. So I'm going to just figure it out and we're going to catch a shot. And in my head, this story already is gorgeous. And so I'm excited for that final project.
Me too, man. You got me excited now.
Awesome, brother.
I'm excited.
Thank you for joining me on the Vinny Rock podcast, brother. And I'll let you know when this is uploaded and we'll get it going.
Thanks, man. I'll talk to you soon, really soon.
Yeah. Boom.